Hi, Misha here, and it's definitely time for another black box. In fact, it's past time because a hell of a lot of things have happened since I did the last one. Some good, some bad, some just, things that happened worth mentioning. So, we'll see how long this goes. But, got a lot to talk with you about. Last couple of black boxes I did, I'm already getting tongue-tied. This will be fun. We're about the arm brace situation. As I think a lot of us assumed, it's already getting challenged in court. Who knows where that'll end up. But we're not going to talk about it this time. It got enough attention last time, and it's still early days one way or the other. We'll circle back around to that maybe March or April. But yeah, a lot going on. If you're here from Patreon, welcome. If you're just a personal channel viewer, here we go. Okay, first off, and I thought about not even mentioning this here. I'm a very private person from a very private family, but it seemed wrong not to acknowledge it. Fox and I had a death in the family, actually just 2 days ago now. Everyone's is okay. It's just it was expected, so you know how that goes. So just wanted to acknowledge that and kind of tribute that. It just somehow seemed wrong not to, but understand that it's a family matter, but it happened. Let's go back to what wasn't a black box that I intended to. The computer situation. That week was interesting because the week it was coming in and the week before we had a bunch of ice. It came from nowhere. They were kind of just saying, oh, Monday, Tuesday might get a little ice, little snow, nothing major. It was supposed to hit late Monday night. My wife left for work about 7:30 that morning, and by 9 o'clock she was already back home. It was already getting bad by that time, and by noon it was slicked up, and we ended up with 2 inches of ice on the road, which pretty much brought everything to a screeching halt here through Thursday. It wasn't until Friday that it thawed out. Weatherman, you got it wrong. But to make things more interesting, Wednesday evening, my wife, who was already getting over a cold, said, hey, the heater's kind of kicking on and off, and it's not really as warm in the house as it should be. So I turned the heater off. I thought, well, I can change the filter. Never hurts. Did that, which I do change my filters. Theoretically, I should do it every month with all the cats, but realistically, I do it every 2 months. That's just, time and whatnot. And the way our filter is in our system, it's not the easiest to get to. You have to unbolt a few things. So I change it and the heater doesn't come back on. So we went from a heater that wasn't really working properly, kind of cycling on and off and keeping the house at least a little warm, to no functioning heater Wednesday night. That's fun. So I kind of stayed up all night to call a friend at about 7 the next morning, Thursday morning, and much to his credit, much to our thanks, he had a handyman essentially come out that had prior experience in HVAC. So he showed up at about 11, and then my friend himself showed up about 12. And the HVAC guy, who it turns out I'd met before for different reasons, looked at it. We kind of had a head scratcher, and we thought, well, maybe there's a switch. One of the little regulator switches was kicking off and just malfunctioning. That would have been the easy answer, which for us rarely happens. So he goes to Lowe's and gets it. Now this is Thursday. It's still kind of crappy outside, but with a big truck and then careful driving, the main roads are okay. It's only the side roads, and especially the rural roads, that are bad by this point. But it's going to get down to 18 degrees that night, so we really needed a heater. And it actually worked out. The only reason the handyman was free on such short notice was because his actual project that he had that day he couldn't get to. So he actually said that he thought he'd be sitting at home, just kind of time with the wife and kid, catching up, and then he gets our call. So he brings it over, puts in the part, and we sit and chit-chat just to make sure it works, and lo and behold, it works. So he heads off, and this is actually right when the new computer is showing up too, because again, they're kind of catching up with the weather and such. So I turn the heater's running fine, and then it heats the house up, and then it clicks off. And I don't think much of it. This is the same afternoon, but it doesn't click back on. And I try cycling the system, and it's dead as a doornail. So I headed to, but about 3 o'clock that afternoon, he just left a couple hours earlier, had to call him and say, hey, it's not working again. So he comes back over. He's there by 4:30. He lives a little ways out. And we're not sure what's up. This is one of those things that just goes to show anyone. When he was putting it back together, he forgot to bolt the inner plate, put the screws back in, and there's a sensor in there that when that plate comes off, it won't let the system run. You know, safety feature and all that. Well, when it was running earlier, the suction of incoming air kept that plate on. But when the heater kicked off, when the house was warm enough, the pressure went off that plate, and it was just being held on by friction, so it popped out. And then once it was loose, the system wouldn't shut on. Now, if I had known that was what the problem was, obviously I could have easily fixed it, but I didn't, and I just didn't know. So we decided to keep that between us and not tell my other friend, who thankfully doesn't watch these black boxes. So this goes to show you that anyone can make silly mistakes, especially when you're tired and everything. So luckily, my wife, still getting over the crud, had heat Thursday night, so it was a little bit of an excitement though, and I think that pretty much ended up being the coldest night of the week. It wasn't an especially cold week, but it was kind of one of those weeks where it just hovered in the 20s and never got much above the 30-degree mark, so just cold enough to keep that nice ice on the ground. So moving on to that new computer. Well, so far so good, and we're a couple days into this whole thing now. I was planning to transfer all the work files over and start doing main job thing, YouTube thing, all that stuff on it, maybe within a week. I got the last of the parts that Friday, set it up, and frankly, I mean, there was some back and forth. There was some stressful moments. It happens. But all in all, by Sunday evening, we were running really well. So much so that I went ahead Monday and gave it a go for the first time, logging guns out on the software, and it worked fine. We found a few little things that we needed to change, correct, things I needed to learn. Because it is a big jump to go from Windows 7 to 11. Now, I had worked with Windows 10 a little bit on my laptop, and I say a little bit because the time I've spent on a laptop vis-a-vis a desktop is minuscule. And I'm kind of happy to report that I'm liking 11 more than 10. Now, I think it also has something to do with the fact that the laptop only had 8 gigabytes of memory. I should have put more in it when I bought it, but hindsight's 2020. Even my old desktop, the one from late 2015, had 12 gigs. Interestingly, when we cracked the old one open to refurbish it, there were 2 sticks, actually only 2 slots total on the old computer, one 8 gigabyte and one 4. Which to modern standards sounds crazy, but back then I think it was DDR3 memory. It wasn't even 4. That was fine. That was acceptable memory arrangement. The new DDR5 seems to be a lot more finicky, but the new machine has 4 slots. So I got it in, and I'm really liking it. All in all, got my speech on there, transferred all my files over. Now, the base system came like this. It is an XPS 8950 or 8950, or even say from Dell. You know, I'm sorry for the pre-built stuff. It had overall what I needed and not much of what I didn't. For example, I didn't buy one with a graphics card, but I can always install one later if I need to, which ironically I might end up doing for a reason we'll get to. Anyway, I got the i7 12700K. I like the K, the idea that it can't be overclocked, and I thought about getting an i9 or even getting a 13th gen, but there are a lot of good deals on the 12th gen. And the difference between 12 and 13, I know there's some quality of life improvements, but I don't really know that they would have mattered to me. And the i7s get, especially the Ks, get really good reviews for more business-oriented stuff. It always seems like the i9s are really good if you're a gamer, and even then you need to water cool them. And guys, with my history with plumbing and anything water related, I'm not doing water cooling. Now, I'm not saying water cooling's bad for you, but for me, involving anything with liquid, trust me, there will be a leak, there will be a catastrophe. No, we're not doing that. So air cooled it is. And that's one reason I went with the 700K, was it came with a better stock cooler than the 700. And I realized that I really don't want a KF or any of that, because apparently for video editing, the F is no good. You do want the graphics part of the Intel chipset for that. And as I said in the other video, I went with Intel because that's really what my TTS program is optimized for. It'll run fine on AMD, but it'll run just a smidgen better on the Intel. And the Intel seems to be a little better at DDR5, and I'm trying to do a system that is, I don't want to say future-proof, nothing's future-proof, but if I'm going to do this, I want to just put it down now and not have to worry about it going forward. So that's the base system. I like that it had 25 cache on the motherboard, and it came with one 2 terabyte HDD hard drive, just rather spin drive, platter if you will, and one SSD that's 2 terabytes, which is of course your boot drive. So 4 terabytes, not bad considering my old system itself only had 1. But guys, I have tons of videos and other stuff, terabytes of data, and I've been juggling 3 to 4 external hard drives, each about 4 terabytes. So, what's it got to do? Oh, and one other thing. I wanted Windows 11 Pro, and for some reason, the machines that had Pro had 16 or 32 gigs of RAM. I wanted 64, but it seems like those systems, for whatever reason, had Windows 11 Home. I like Pro, and it does have some features that I do actually use. In fact, I immediately used, especially options for switching things on and off that I prefer. So what I did, I bought the system that came with 32, but it wasn't going to stay with 32 for very long. So it begins my kind of adventure in reacquainting myself with installing modern hardware. Once I got my speech on and things were running, I started installing and swapping things out. First was the memory. I took the two 16 gigabyte DIMMs out, and I considered putting two 16 more in to make a total of 64, 4. But what I've read about DDR5, it just really likes to have 2 instead of 4 in that configuration. So I just bit the bullet and put two 32 gigabyte DIMMs in there. So I took out the two 16s and put two 32s in, giving me a total of 64 gigs of memory. To me, it does seem like it runs faster, especially mostly when I'm doing video editing, because I edited the same video before with 32, and then I ran it with the same settings at 64, and it was noticeably quicker to come out of the gate. Plus, again, I'm trying to have this thing set for the future. Looking at memory, I still have at least 45 gigs free, no matter what I'm doing right now. But that gives me a little extra room to play with in the future. 4K and 8K and all that become more of the norm. We'll see. But I was really shocked how easy it was to pop the memory out, and putting it in was easy, except the force that's required. I was I'm not comfortable putting that much force onto boards, but you just gotta kind of punch it in there and snap it in. And then once I did that, I was expecting to have to go to the BIOS and do something. No, it just came up with one simple screen saying the memories have changed, the memory configuration has changed. If you didn't do this, you need to do, check on it. Otherwise, just, hey, something changed. So just hitting enter for OK, and boop, right into Windows, all registered, all showing up. Now, I didn't overclock it because stability is more important to me than absolute bleeding edge speed. That's one reason I did go with DDR5 versus 4. The base speed of DDR5 is still quite a bit faster than my old machine running DDR3, so yeah, it's fine for now. I might bump it up. I ended up buying a 4800 mega transfer memory, which is fine. I didn't want to push it to 52 or 6000. Again, DDR5, especially on the 12th gen boards, this will be fine. I think it's running at 4400 right now, if memory serves. So I might one day play with it at 48, but I'm good. I'm happy I did that. The next step. Well, there were two SSD slots, M2 slots on the motherboard. So I picked up a second stick. I don't even call it a drive, an SSD. It's just 1 terabyte. It was inexpensive. I thought this would be a good project drive is what I thought it'd be. Keep the main drive free for programs and memory and all that. And then I can put whatever projects I'm working on, because video files are large. 1 terabyte just doesn't go as far as it used to. So that was my thunk. I thought I would do programs on the main drive, video projects on the second SSD drive, so you still have that fast speed. Now the third drive, the pre-installed 2 terabyte HHD, it was hurting nothing. What I ended up using it for, at least for now, are like stock video clips and stock photos, because I have a lot of photos of gun stuff for Gunbroker, and taking a look at it, a modern photo is between 6 and 10 megabytes, which that adds up really quick when you take 10 to 24 pictures per gun, and you do, like today we did 4 guns, so I've got a couple 100 gigabytes of pictures on there, so I put those on that HHD. Nothing I need in a hurry, but it'll be there. But when I was taking the computer apart, I noticed there's a whole other bay in the upper left-hand corner, complete with cables neatly tucked in there. And I am getting tired of futzing about with external hard drives, and so I started poking on Amazon, really intending to buy about a 10 terabyte drive. Figuring, 10 plus 2 plus 2 plus the 1, that gives me 15 terabytes on board. That's enough, and I can still use external hard drives. But there was something. There was Western Digital, which is a brand I've used ever since the late 80s, early 90s. And they had one of their red drives. And I was thinking about getting a Plus or a Pro. And they had a really good buy on a Pro, like basically half off. But it was 16 terabyte. And I considered just getting a 10, a 12, or a 14, but frankly, they weren't but like $10 cheaper each time you step down. So I thought, well, heck, for about $21 more, I can go from what I was planning, a 10 or a 12, up to a 16, and it's a Red Pro. And I mean, if that can't keep from breaking, I don't know what can. I mean, 7,200 RPM drives are plenty fast enough for long-term storage. And I know SSDs are the common thing today, and people really like them, but SSDs have a lifespan. It's pretty good, but they're more for speed than size and dependability. An old hard drive treated properly and not used too awful much will last years, even decades. I know I pulled one out of the closet from 2008 and checked the data, and it was still fine. And those Western Digitals are meant for a lot of read-write because they're really meant for servers. So yeah, I basically put a hard drive meant for a server or a backup system in my new computer, meaning that I have a total of 21 terabytes of hard drive. My wife said, well, how long do you think that'll last? And I said, I don't know, but I've got an ability to hook up to 4 hard drives inside it right now, 2 SSD and 2, standard HDDs, so we'll see where it goes. I think if I need more, I can replace that 2 terabyte with a larger one. I mean, theoretically another 16 or even up to a 20 terabyte, and that'll keep me going. It just depends how quick 4K and 8K videos become the norm instead of the exception, because those are ungodly large. So that could very well be the case going forward. But I had a lot of fun. I was happy that I didn't have to move jumpers around like the old computers. It was basically just plugging in cables, and man, getting the hard drive set up was easy peasy. It was kind of interesting that the SSD and the HDD, you went to different areas of Windows to get them activated, but essentially it was just assigning a volume label and name and telling it, hey, activate it and format it in TFS, and boom, there you go, Bob's your uncle. So the computer's done, and it seems to be quite stable, at least as stable as any computer with a TTS program in it can be. I've had the speech crash a few times, or at least quit talking, not exactly crash, then the program's still running, but sometimes when the computer gets overwhelmed, like the memory gets used up, if I'm trying to transfer hundreds of gigabytes of data, it'll get overwhelmed. But all I have to do then is just restart the program by going to the menu and typing in the name of the screen reader. So I'm quite pleased. There's still a few things I miss about Windows 7, but shit, there's still a few things I miss about Windows XP. But it's not near the nightmare I thought it was going to be, and there are even a few things I do like about it. Just as a quick aside, it's funny how the quality of life things, they're so small sometimes it matters so much. For example, one thing I really missed about Internet Explorer, when you clicked a link in Explorer, it would make a little clicky noise, click. It would also make a click when the page was done loading. As you can imagine, for me, that was very useful, because sometimes I thought I would click a link in Chrome, and I didn't, or it was grayed out, and I didn't know. And I got to looking in Chrome, and there was no way to really make it do that like Internet Explorer. So I Googled what to do, and someone actually made an app extension for Chrome on the Chrome store for free. Whoever you were, much obliged. It was quite an old one now, I think 2 or 3 years old. But it basically makes Google Chrome on that clicky thing emulate Internet Explorer. And so I downloaded it, and it is perfect. It actually has a couple of different tones of click, upper or lower pitch to the click. So there's one tone for clicking on a link. There's a slightly different tone for when a page is loading, and then another one when a page is done loading. So it's actually like Internet Explorer, but even better. So that small, free, took me 2 minutes to find and install thing has just made me happy. And it makes my browsing experience quite good. It really makes Google Chrome feel very responsive to me. I mean, I've been using Chrome for years, and I like it, but there's a few things that Internet Explorer just didn't have. Now, Internet Explorer, when it was still valid, ran the fastest. Google Chrome is still a little bit slower, at least with my speech, but that's okay. Speaking of, and it was funny, there's someone on the main channel when I posted the computer video saying you need to de-bloatware your Windows, man. And I was like, it makes you think I haven't. In fact, I'm kind of notorious for going the other direction or removing too much. Including, I removed Edge. Yeah, I killed the Edge Internet Explorer's replacement. It's totally gone. Now, you can't do that from the regular add remove applications programs thing. Although I started there and removed a bunch of junk that I didn't need and, add stuff. Obviously, the very, very first thing we did on the new computer was remove McAfee. In my experience, Windows Defender is adequate. I don't need that. And Norton really, and McAfee really screw with my speech anyway. Another thing I did immediately was turn off notifications and send them all directly to the notification center. One thing I needed with Windows 11 Pro was the Do Not Disturb feature, and there's another one you turn on too, because all those little pop-up notifications are terrible for a screen reader for so many reasons. For one, it can't usually read them, but they take its focus away from what you're doing. So basically, it pulls you out of what you're doing and disorients you, and usually you have to wait till the notification goes away. So it just costs you 5-10 seconds of time and takes you out of where you're at. It is exceedingly annoying. And another thing I really like about Windows 11 Pro, you can stop updates, you can suspend them, and I don't know how easy that is to do on home. I'm sure you probably can, but in Pro it's super easy. It's just like one click, and if you want to, it does it a week at a time. Basically, you suspend updates for a week, and you can click the extend or not. And I do like to do updates occasionally for security stuff, but yeah, to get rid of Edge, I actually downloaded a remover tool, a scrubber tool, and completely scrubbed Edge and all that off. And it's good because it can also do things like Microsoft Cortana if you want to do that. There's not really anything it can't kill. So even if Windows doesn't like it, and if you want to hear Windows, at least Microsoft, really wail, remove Edge. It does not like you doing that, but it can't do anything about it. So yeah, Google Chrome. It's the only browser on the system right now. If I have to, I might do Firefox later. There's a few things and a few websites it works better for me. I will admit, the first time I went to Gunbroker on the new computer, there were a couple of things I was having really difficulty with. The category selection was hard for me, and then the item, what do they call it? Characteristics. I could not figure out how to work it. Eventually I figured out the right keystrokes, and it's fine. But here's the problem. With a lot of computer problems, people like you can just go to Google it, and other people have had that experience. Something tells me there are not many blind people out there that are on Gunbroker as a seller that are listing stuff with Windows 11 like me. So I kind of have to puzzle this stuff out myself because there's not really a good resource. Now, worst case scenario, if I couldn't figure it out, I could email the screen reader company and they could take a look at the website and tell me what to do. But that takes time, and there's a certain satisfaction in figuring stuff out for yourself. It's the same reason that men don't like to look at maps when driving places. You know how that goes. Maps, kids, were these paper things in your glove boxes you unfolded, and then mommy and daddy yelled at each other over, and then mommy wouldn't sleep with daddy for about 2 weeks. The family vacation. Good times. But no, the new computer is, while there are still frustrations, it's better than I expected. I was really dreading this update from the old one from Windows 7, but it's not near as bad as I thought it would be. As for my old computer, I'm actually scrubbing it, refurbishing it, adding some more memory, adding a new hard drive, putting Windows 11 on it, and that'll go to Fox as kind of a free starter computer because he doesn't have one. And for just a dedicated video processing thing, it'll have 16 gigs of memory and it'll have 2 terabytes of storage on board. it'll get him there. It'll get him through the next year or two, and so I'm happy that I won't be throwing it in the trash, because while it was getting a little too old to run my speech and Windows 11 and video edit at the same time, 16 gigs is just really not enough for all that. 12 sure wasn't. For him not needing to run my speech, and for him not needing it as his main computer, just like set it in his office, set a video to edit, and if it takes 2 hours, who cares? It's great. And I just don't like the idea of throwing away a loyal computer that has held up exceedingly well. In terms of reliability, it may have been my best one ever, because no part ever broke. It was just a good, stable machine. But, its time came. So he'll use it for a few months, and then I'm sure we'll pick him up a better one. But it's what we got right now, and it's there for the taking, with just about a day's worth of work refurbishing it. So that's good, and I hope it he enjoys it. I'll even leave my music on there for him. Oh, that's another thing I ripped off the new computer, Windows Media Player and all that. It didn't care for that either. I put VLC on there, but for old time's sake, I put Winamp on there. I've had Winamp on my computer since 1997, and it would just seem weird not to have it on there. And I still, for a simple music player, MP3, it takes up no memory at all running. And what I like about it, it's 100% keyboard command accessible. So it's on there. I just use it for playing music, but yeah, it's on there. Oh, and I did decide to go ahead and pay for the license. I use VSDC as a video editor. It too is very keyboard accessible. Thank you. And so now that I can use hardware acceleration for the new system, I paid a license for 2 people, me and Fox, for a year for us supposed to use it, see if he likes it. Or I tell him, if you don't, you use Adobe, that's fine. But Adobe is a little too graphical for me. This software it can certainly do more than I can do. And yeah, I'm really enjoying having the unlocked version. To their credit, the freeware version is fine. It has no watermarks. It has no expiration date. It certainly has no video length, because I've had it edit up to like 3-hour videos before. But it just lacks a few things, like I said, hardware acceleration, multi-core use, the ability to use up to 64 gigs of memory, and of course a lot of transitions and effects that unfortunately I can't use, but I'm sure Fox will find useful. And the license was very, very reasonable, and I've been using their product for so long I felt like I needed to kick them some money. So with the new install, it's smashing it. The videos are so quick now to edit. For example, tonight I did a video that was about 30 minutes on the old system. Part of it was just old. That would have taken an hour, maybe hour and a half, depending on the resolution and everything. This new system, I set it to export, even at highest possible quality, resolution, and detail level. Not 4K though, but not because it couldn't do it, but just because of the size of the files. But 1080p, highest quality, highest effects, hardware acceleration. It took about 10 minutes, maybe? I should time some, but it was no time at all. And for like this video, this black box, it's going to take a couple of minutes at most just to crunch the sound down. So that's saved me quite a bit of time. Videos edit very quickly now. And also, knock on wood, I'm sure it will happen, but it hasn't crashed yet on editing a video. So that's good. The old one is occasionally would just kind of crap the bed. And it's just, again, old computer. Me pushing it a little too hard. That's the main hardware-intensive thing I do. But, again, my speech software takes up about 8 gigs of active memory in and of itself when I'm really going. It'll do 4, but it really likes 8. I'm looking at, Resource Monitor. So if I've got a few Google tabs open. If I'm reviewing a few videos, sometimes I'll have a couple of different videos open as I'm arranging them. If I also want to edit in the background, or just have YouTube going, or my email, it can add up quicker than you'd think. It's kind of the name of modern processing, isn't it? No, I'm happy. And it's been good to do. I've had a lot of fun learning, or at least reacquainting myself with modern computers, and hopefully I won't have to do this for a while. Although I am tempted, if a good deal comes along, to get a new laptop maybe at the end of this year, because the old one, that 8 gigs of memory, and I was just going to install another stick. I think it's only got 1 DIMM in there. I think it does have an expansion for another one, but at most I could go to 16. As my wife said, do you really want to put more money into a system that's already, that laptop is already over 3 years old, so I don't know how much longer the battery is going to hold the charge. It's doing really good. I like my laptop, but she might be right. And it has a very small hard drive. And again, it's probably just something that didn't stand out to me back then, but it only has like a 250 gigabyte drive. And I can't figure out what's taking up the space. It only has my speech on there, Windows, my music, which to be fair is like 50 gigs of music. But it only has 50 gigs free out of 250. So even allowing for, formatting and all that, I just don't know what's taking up. At most, I would have thought I had 100 gigs of stuff on there, just because I have so little on there. I haven't really done video editing on it. I tried a couple of times, but it just wasn't up to the task. But it would be nice to have a computer that I could video edit on. So that might be an end of the year thing if the year goes well. So enough adventures in computering. I have a lot more to talk to you about. Let's talk about models or toys or both. I've had a couple of emails in the last couple of weeks from, I think it's Master Models. They've sent out to previous customers of Eagle Moss saying they have now obtained the license to the Star Trek and other sci-fi series, and that they'll be carrying the products soon. And they promise that they'll not only be doing existing stuff, but adding new products to the Star Trek line and adding new sci-fi franchises as well. So I'm really hoping to see a return to the Battlestar Galactica, maybe. Definitely want to see more Stargate, because we only had 3 ships in that. That just seems sad. And I only actually got 1 before everything went horrible. And I wouldn't even mind some more Discovery ships. But I definitely want some of the ships from Strange New Worlds, mostly because I like the show. But there's a couple of cool Federation ships and even cooler Romulan ships, and that's kind of my jam. Romulans are my favorite alien ships. Federation are my favorite overall, but, man, the Romulans. Plus, their women are a lot more attractive than Klingon women, too. So I'm excited about that. I did tell them they could keep me on their list. They politely asked if they could keep emailing me, and I said, sure, keep in the loop. So hopefully we'll be able to start Eagle Moss, or at least what was Eagle Moss, back up again very soon. Also, I have a couple of new Hobby Master models coming. To be honest, I haven't got them sent to me yet, just because of everything else going on, but my orders with Pete's Collectibles is there, including the new Rafale C, for the French plane. Kind of excited to see their take. We've looked at a, oh good golly, what is that brand? Not Precision Model Arts. Oh, whatever. We've looked at one before, but it's not bad, but it's kind of quality. It's fine. But I'm interested to see Hobby Master's take, because it will be better. Their Mirage 2000 is gorgeous. So you can tell I'm sitting outside for once, because it's actually not cold tonight, but it's about to get cold and rainy again. So that's new. There's been a couple of new Corgis come out too, but nothing too exciting to me. Again, with the prices today, I'm being very choosy, only picking up 1 or 2 new ones. Same goes for tanks. There's been some new tanks, but I still have plenty of tanks we haven't even looked at on this channel, but those videos require actual time and research and getting numbers right. a Star Wars video, or I can just sit down and talk about. And when I've got so much else going on, that's sometimes just what I need, or doing these black boxes. That said, I've done a number of Star Wars stuff, looked at some more clones. Probably get into the Jedi soon. We're getting quite a nice little collection of Jedi in the Black Series. And the Hot Wheels Select line, I picked up a couple of the new editions. Hey, speaking of rain, it just started raining. Luckily, I'm under a porch. But, new things there. That should be fun. So we should have some new models soon. But I do have a lot of Black Series figures to still get to over time. Namely, I really want to do Cad Bane, but I don't want to do it half-assed, and I just haven't had time to really delve in, because I'm not 100% familiar with all the lore around him. I really just know him from the Clone Wars, and to be honest, I haven't watched that show in a few years. So, well, we will, though, time and everything. And I still have some more lightsabers to talk to you about. In fact, I've got the final one I'd ordered back in December coming in hopefully tomorrow. It's in my town, but for some reason the shipment says on hold, and it says they're going to deliver on the scheduled date. I'm like, no, but you have it here now. Let's deliver it now. How about that? So working on that kind of stuff for you. And sorry, the personal channel videos maybe have been a little more scattered or erratic, but with everything going on, I have to give priority to the main channel when I do videos, and just work and family and all that. And speaking of, recorded quite a few new main channel videos with Fox, and a couple by myself, and a couple with J-Ro. So I can give you a little taste of what's coming there too. I wanted to do a bolt action, so last week I put out one on the Yugoslavian M48. Another one I did on a bolt gun that's recorded and already uploaded but not published yet is on the Craig Jorgensen, the carbine. When I covered it a couple of years ago, I noticed that the gun I'd recently picked up, one of the Filipino constabulary carbines, which I really like, was missing the safety. And I asked around about getting a safety, but I couldn't really find one, and since the safety has a few parts in it, including a small plunger and spring, I kind of thought maybe the best way would just be find a sporterized gun that's kind of a junker, but has a good safety, and just rob it of the safety. And it took me a couple of years of not too hard trying, but still trying, and I found one last week. Totally bubbed. In fact, it's about the most bubbed that you've ever seen. It was already missing the magazine cutoff, the feed cutoff lever, but it had an intact safety in good shape with a good spring and detent. So I literally just bought it for that piece. And what I plan on doing is just, selling the gun as is as a parts gun, because at this point it's still got a good firing pin, it's got a good spring extractor, good bolt body, and it's got a good magazine with all of its internals except for that cutoff. The barrel has been cut down, the stock is butchered. They even cut down and shaved the firing pin tail, the cocking knob. So that's all toast. But what I'll do is I'll just deduct the cost of the parts I needed from it, and then just put it up for what I paid. And I'm someone will want it. If not, I need the parts. And now my other gun is complete and whole. So I did a video looking at that and talking about the experience. At the same time, I picked up a gun that I've always kind of strangely wanted. I've never owned before. And it's probably a horrible gun to a lot of people, but I wanted it for its place in history. An HK VP-70Z. Also known as the standard issue handgun of the Colonial Marines and Aliens. Also known as the gun with the worst possible trigger, probably even worse than a Polish P64. But it has some cool points. For one, it's the first mass-produced polymer frame pistol. But for another, HK designed it as essentially a modern liberator. If the balloon went up, if the Soviets invaded through the Fulda Gap, these were to be mass-produced cheaply and left behind for insurgents. And for that, It is exceedingly simple. It has like half a dozen moving parts. You can field strip it with no tools. It's a blowback gun, a 9mm blowback gun, yet at the same time it has an 18+1 capacity. So not bad. And the military version has a detachable shoulder stock, and the military version even has a 3-round burst mode. Sadly, the civilian doesn't, but oh well. So I'm going to surprise Fox with that. I don't think he realizes the trigger on those. It really is a staple gun. But that's because when you charge the slide, it in no way cocks the gun. The entire cocking mechanism is done by pulling the trigger from beginning to end. And they wanted it to have a really hard hit on a primer so it can cycle poor quality ammo. Again, it's kind of almost a doomsday weapon. So I don't know. I wanted one, and it's one of the few HKs that actually doesn't cost a ton of money. At least the gun doesn't. The magazines do, though. They're $150, and luckily this gun came with 3 mags, so I was sold on it and picked it up. I don't know why. It's silly, especially considering another gun we're working with is a 2023 HK MR 556A1. I actually ordered that in for Fox because he wanted a piston AR. And I know objectively that'll be the more fun gun to shoot and a higher quality. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I was kind of looking forward to shooting that stupid VP70 more. But hey, there you go. Coming up soon. A few of the videos we've already recorded. We did a revisit of the Colt M45A1, the CQBP, that Marine 45 that they were all hyping up that pretty much was falling on its face in a couple of years. Did that, took it out. Also, as we were doing that, took the HK Mark 23 out, which is another gun that kind of fell on its face, but for totally different reasons. But I wanted Fox to experience them, and I hadn't shot 45 ACP ammo in a while, so it was a good excuse. And then it came a rain, so we got to shoot them both in pouring rain. Hey, they're meant to take it. They're Marine pistols and Navy pistols, right? So those videos are already done. Go up soon. What else? Oh, we are going to be working on a big FAL video. Kind of the definitive one. Going to get J-Ro involved to edit it and make it look all spiffy. Going to take a few guns out, run some rounds through them. So that'll probably take a while. Probably won't be something coming out immediately, but yeah, something for the far future. Yeah, maybe March or April. That'll be coming out. And we did finally finish the SETME, LV, and LVS video, or at least most so. The table talks are done. The first range day we've had in the bag for a while. It's the only part we have left is to do something for the night vision section, which I'll probably do quite shortly because I'll be going home to visit family for the reason I said at the beginning of the video, just whenever I'm told the date. So do that. But yeah. I have, as much as I haven't really had time to work on personal channel videos, the main channel, the main Mishaco channel is far from suffering. We've got enough content built up for a couple of weeks at the very least, and once Fox gets a computer to edit with, even an old slow one, it will improve things exponentially, and he can try his hand at that. So looking forward to it. And yeah, we've been working with a few different companies reviewing stuff, and actually I just had a call today from Arms of America asking if we'd be interested in reviewing some of their new kits. Who I worked with them a lot in the past, but the owner that had it sold the business and then went back to school. Well, he couldn't stay away apparently, and he's working as a consultant for them part-time, and so he kind of bridged that gap between me and the new owner. So I'm actually really looking forward to working with Arms of America again because I enjoyed it so much in the past. But one company that may not be happy with me is Arsenal. The next Arsenal video we're going to release on the main channel is on that new SAM 7R, the one with the telescoping stock, the SAM 767T. And guys, I so much wanted to like that gun. Not to spoil the video, but I didn't. It's one of the most pointless things I've ever come across in my life. And just 5 minutes ago, I talked about how much I wanted a VP70. Compared to that, the VP70 has tons of points, lots of them, many points, the best points ever. It doesn't take away from other arsenals, but I just don't know what they're going with on that one. But oh well, they can't all be wieners, right? And Fox has a few new things to share with you too. Plus, we're continuing to test the M77 PS, the Polish Pioneer Arms, which is doing surprisingly well, and the Century Romanian Nova Module CG1. So, running with those we've got right now. And I'm sure we'll add more to the mix, but with the cost of ammo right now, please understand that we're buying the guns, we're buying the ammo. We don't have an ammo sponsor, so we're doing what we can do. So working on that video-wise, giving you a little sneak peek. Let me think if there's anything miscellaneous, and then we'll wrap things up. On a personal level, aside from the family situation, which, that's just life. And my wife is still trying to shake that cold. She got better, and then I think the heater going out. But I finally got her to go see a doctor, and they're going to get her on antibiotics. It's not bad. She's still working, but it's just one of those kind of persistent dry coughs and doesn't need to be allowed to fester. That said, I do understand it's kind of hard. We're swinging from highs in the 20s to highs in the 60s and then back to the 20s, and it is hard for anybody to keep up with this crazy mood swing temperature thing. So, yeah. Cats are doing well. Miss Peanut's good. That's the tripod. Odie, the kitten you've seen, he is growing up and becoming quite mischievous. And Earl is Earl. He definitely misses Oscar. Oscar pitied him, and Earl followed Oscar around. He's kind of started following me around instead of Oscar. Miss Hobo, the old mama cat, for her age, she's doing well, but I can tell when it gets cold like this, it hurts. She must have arthritis, because she's just not as spunky. I mean, she still rubs up on you, headbutts you, likes you to pet her, likes to sit in your lap, but she just doesn't move as spryly and jump around as much. So I'm hoping springtime will be better on her. I also just realized the simple fact that she's an old cat. I mean, she's 16, 17 years old. She's doing great for her age, but as long as she's happy, that's all that matters. So I just don't need to lose her so close to Oscar last year. That was rough, because as I said in that video, we rescued Oscar as a kitten and nursed him back to health when he got bit by a spider, and he never forgot it. He was the most loyal. He was basically a dog in cat form. He was just exceedingly calm, loyal, nice. He's just not what people think of when you think of cats. Like, if people met cats like him, everyone would like cats. It's just like trying to judge all dogs by little yapper dogs. If everyone only met Labradors, then everyone would love dogs too. So far the cats are all doing fine. The new kitten's integrated in just fine. Got a few home repair things done, DIY stuff that we've been putting off forever. Got most of it done, except we need to put a new handle on the door outside on the side door. It broke on Thanksgiving. But the problem there is the non-standard size. It's so hard to find them now. Nothing else terribly exciting. Just hoping to get through February, get to the springtime, and get back out to the cabin area and do some shooting and just maybe being outdoors. Kind of getting antsy, a little bit of cabin fever. But yeah, probably travel home soon and visit family for a week or so. I hope everyone else has been doing well. I haven't really done more of a personal black box. The last couple were, like I said, about gun stuff, firearm stuff, and not about me. But there has been a lot happening. Some good, some bad, some just, life. But we get through. We're pretty tough, durable people around here. Mostly because we don't have a choice. Kind of have to be. So we are. But hope everyone else is doing okay. And feel free to comment below. Let me know what you've been up to. Maybe what spring plans you have. Definitely check out the main Mishaco channel, for the new videos, and check back here. Hopefully we'll be able to bring you some Eagle Moss, not Eagle Moss stuff very soon, and at least a couple of Hobby Master videos. The one I'm really waiting on is the MiG 31. I'm super jazzed for that to come out. But yeah, I think I'll call it a night. Getting a little chilly out here, and I'm hungry, so appreciate you hanging out with me, and best wishes, and I'll be back very soon next time.